Hello and welcome. My name is Keegan Schmicker. I'm the Executive Director of the Tipton County Chamber of Commerce, and today we have another series in our State of the Community. And today we're going to be talking about education. And I'm joined today by Mark Canada of IUK Kokomo. So just briefly, Mark, give us a little introduction to yourself, and then we'll just jump right into the program.
Sure, Keegan. Happy to be here. So I am the Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and the Deputy Chancellor, but I'm entering the role of Chancellor starting on August 15th.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, delighted to be leading this institution. It's a great place to work and a great resource for North Central Indiana.
Absolutely. So then, Mark, I think we'll start the program with this recent announcement, not only your promotion, but then also the announcement of a $1.2 million, is that correct, $1 million grant that included Tipton Community Schools. So can you talk about what that grant is going to be for and how this might impact or will impact Tipton County?
Sure, Keegan. We're very excited about this opportunity. It's a 3E grant, Explore, Engage, and Experience from the Indiana Department of Education. So we are not the only institution to get this grant. They're awarded throughout the state, but we're very fortunate to be one of the participants and will, I think, help the region and also help IUK Kokomo and our students in a number of ways. Most important way is that it's going to create pathways for students in the schools. We already have a lot of pathways, but this is one way that we can expand on that. So IUK Kokomo has been very successful with something called Tomorrow's Teachers, where students can start taking education courses for an education 4-year degree while they're still in school, while they're still in high school. And they can get 4 of those classes done and also start to feel like what it's like to be a college student and to meet their faculty. So that's been so successful that we wanted to expand that. So this grant, this 3E grant, is going to allow us to expand that to do things like tomorrow's healthcare workers and tomorrow's business professionals. And so all of our deans are involved, and we have expanded, or in the process of expanding, these pathway programs. There also will be a lot of opportunities for students to learn about career opportunities, and so they can get some career exploration while they're still in high school. So
students will leave high school having completed some curriculum already at the college level,
right,
toward these pathways.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
What's distinctive about this is that obviously there are already lots of opportunities, for example, through the Advanced College Project at IU, that students can get general education courses, but now we're talking about actually getting into their majors, right, so they can start heading in that direction of whatever they think they might like to do. Now, they're not committed to that, obviously. Right. It's just 4 courses. They might decide they want to be a computer scientist instead of a teacher, but they have that opportunity early on to start moving toward a major that they can develop at a 4-year degree.
And to be able to get that experience, and if that career path doesn't end up working out, to know that before leaving high school. And not only are you saving money, but you're saving time too. So that's incredible, and really exciting that Tipton Community Schools is being a participant in this with IUK. So that's exciting too for our community.
Yes, we're delighted about that. We're also working with Tipton Schools on a Power Up to College program that will help to incentivize college-going behaviors. And so when the students are still in high school, they're getting points, so to speak, for doing the types of things that will help them to succeed in college. And then along with that, if they complete it successfully, they've got $1,000 to use toward college.
Wow, that's incredible. So talking now, shifting a little bit toward maybe some macro trends that are in the higher education. Over the years, we've heard, or at least there's been rhetoric about maybe society suggesting or pushing too many students to go to a 4-year institution, and what we have now being experienced is a labor shortage for a multitude of reasons. Mm-hmm. But one of the reasons speculated is because we've pushed so many students to a 4-year institution, and we've really disincentivized or just not suggested that students attain skilled trades, for example. Mm-hmm. But now we're starting to hear now that we've seen that shift toward the skilled labor and trying to get more students into the construction trades and the plumbing and so forth. But now we're starting to hear rhetoric to the other side that if we continue to disincentivize 4-year institutions, we're also going to find ourselves with a severe shortage. I think it's already being experienced. So how do we, and I know this is incredibly speculative and I'm asking you to solve, a macro problem, but how do we change this from being a pendulum problem, that instead of shifting from each end of the pendulum to being maybe just a more respectful solution toward how do we get a short-term solution that's satisfying the labor needs now, but then also being able to project into the future knowing we're going to need more 4-year institution or 4-year graduates to satisfy the needs of the future.
It's a great question, and the short answer is that it doesn't have to be an either or.
Right.
It's really a both and.
Yep.
And I think it's unfortunate, as you said, that we've got this pendulum swinging back and forth because we need people in all of those trades.
Yes.
My father was in that kind of trade, hands-on trade, and we need people doing that type of work. But we also need people doing the kind of work that you get with a college education. Now, as you look at the numbers, you'll see that 100% of the job growth over the last few years has been in 4 jobs that require a 4-year degree.
Okay.
A lot of jobs are going overseas, obviously, and there's automation that's taking over for some of those jobs that don't require a 4-year degree. So if you're looking at where the economy in the United States should be going, you should be looking at the 4-year degree types of jobs, if that's for you. And that's why the Pathway program is helpful. As you said,
Sure.
Keegan, you get a chance to taste what it might be like to become a computer scientist or a business professional and see if that's the way you want to go. If it isn't, then we need plenty of people doing the other kinds of jobs too, the high school diploma and 2-year jobs. But when you look at the job growth, it's really in the 4-year degree. So we need a lot more of that in the state of Indiana in particular.
So then talking about the enrollment, getting people into the college, I know that there's, we talked briefly before this, so I didn't know this beforehand. I'm not that intelligent, but there has been a decrease in enrollment. And do you think that's an effect from the pandemic that we're seeing, or is this more of a trend that was on your guys' radar to begin with?
Well, it's a little bit of both. So we know from statistics that have been compiled that there were a lot fewer births back during the recession. So if you do the math from that recession going forward in 2026, we're expecting a whole lot fewer
Sure.
college
Not
age
something
students.
that you wouldn't actually think about, but the recession
And we have to think
caused-
about it. Yeah.
Sure. But so you had fewer births as a result of the recession back
Exactly.
in 2007, 8, and 9. So projecting to 2026, you were already expecting a decrease in enrollment, but
Exactly.
that decrease.
So we were expecting that and anticipating that. Now, it means a smaller pool of college-age students. What we need to
Right.
do is to attract more students to college, to a 2-year and a 4-year degree, because again, we believe that's where the job growth will be, and
Right.
we know from statistics that's where it is now.
Sure.
So we want to attract a higher percentage of that smaller pool of students to go to college. So we knew that was coming. What we didn't know was coming, of course, was the pandemic.
Right.
And so since the pandemic, during the pandemic, the New York Times reported not long ago that across the country, 1.4 million fewer students are going to college. So that's close to 10% of the overall undergraduate population in the United States. That's how much we lost. So we're seeing at IU Kokomo, colleges across the country are seeing that.
And that's 1.4 million today, that compared to last year. Is that correct?
Well, before the pandemic, so
Oh,
over the last
yeah.
2 years or so,
Sure.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
So it's a huge number. Now, I'm not despairing. I think that we want to do more to try to attract those students. Some of that, I think, we're hoping will be a temporary blip in the sense that because of the pandemic, there's a lot of anxiety, uncertainty. A lot of students were going through a different kind of modality of education. They were doing online education in high school for good reason, because they were trying to protect students' health. But we're getting back to close to normal. In fact, at IU Kokomo, we're back to normal in terms of our in-person classes. We still have lots of online alternatives, but
Sure.
students who want in-person classes can get those classes. It's not an issue. So we would want students to know that they will have an opportunity to get a traditional college education
Yeah.
and try to alleviate some of that anxiety. Speaking of anxiety, there's also a mental health crisis going on in the United States that is hitting young people especially hard.
Absolutely.
And so that's one that we're addressing at IU Kokomo, and colleges across the country are very aware that they need to have support for those students. So
Sure.
we're dealing with a lot of challenges, really strong headwinds right now that we have to overcome. But we want students to know that we are still supportive of them. We have all kinds of initiatives in place and resources to help them succeed when they're in college. So we just have to alleviate some of that anxiety. And again, I think the Pathways program can help that, because students will get a taste of what college education is like.
Yep.
They'll get to meet some of their professors and get a sense that when they come to IU Kokomo or wherever they decide to go, professors aren't scary people. I'm
Right.
one myself. We're there to support students and help them succeed.
Yeah, that's great that you have some acknowledgement of the mental health crisis, and you're stepping up to the plate. That's
Yes.
probably not a role that you expected to be filling, but to see that it is impacting student success and willingness to come to a 4-year institution or 2-year institution. So that's phenomenal that IUK is stepping up to the plate and helping with that crisis for sure. And so taking another turn in our conversation, focusing more on Tipton County businesses. I did want to ask, what are some ways that Tipton County businesses could better engage or cooperate, partner with IUK to help get some value and benefits, whether it's direct value from a student intern or just from some curriculum through IUK? How's the best way for them to engage with IUK for that?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Keegan, because people often think of higher education as a place where young people go to get degrees, and obviously we are that. Right. But also we serve the community in a number of other ways. We really embrace our identity as a steward of place, and we serve the community, not just the young people, not just the adult learners, but anybody who's interested in trying to improve in their careers, improve their community, and employers as well. So a couple of quick examples. Not that long ago, we launched something called the Key Center for Innovation. So our Dean of Business has stepped over into this role, and he has a lot of experience working with community partners and helping those partners connect with our students, who then can do work for the community partners. Yeah. It's really a win-win, because the community partners get some expertise from the students, who are mentored by their faculty, obviously. So all the work will be, top quality. Yeah. But the students are getting that learning experience of doing really meaningful work that will be translated into something that is used in the community. So we have the Key Center for Innovation, which helps develop those partnerships for projects. We also have obviously lots of interns and students who can do internships in local communities. And then also something that we're launching now are our badges, our micro-credentials, where employers might want to send some of their employees, or maybe employees volunteer themselves. They want to upskill or reskill. And it's especially important nowadays, of course, because the job environment is so dynamic that you can get a great 4-year degree, but a year later your job is changing. There's more of a demand for micro-credentials you might need in data analytics or leadership. Maybe you're getting ready to go into a leadership position. You don't have a lot of training and management. Of course, we welcome people who want graduate degrees, but at the same time, there are probably lots of folks who aren't ready to make that much of a commitment. So a micro-credential, or a badge as we call it, is an opportunity for students or employees who want to try to upskill, that they can get something really narrowly defined. Maybe they don't need a full-fledged management degree, but they need some expertise on leading change, for example, or on managing conflict, or performance evaluation. Well, of course, we have all of that expertise on our campus, and so we're happy to provide those too, and people can find more information on our website. It's easy to remember, iuk.edu/badges.
Oh, very good. And so we talk about these badges just a little more, just so I can really understand what this is. So it would be similar, of course, not to the scale of, but like a CPA, for example, is like a micro-credential that suggests to the employer and maybe confirms back to the student that I have learned, I have gone through some education, and some third party has assessed my understanding in this field, and therefore I've earned this badge to suggest that I'm competent and potentially a content expert.
You said it better than I could. Yes, exactly. So the idea, that's why we call it a credential. So a 4-year degree or a master's degree, those are credentials too. This is a micro-credential, so you're exactly right. We are putting our seal of approval on this person's expertise in that narrow area. So it's a little bit of both. It's much narrower, but there still is a credential there that would be similar to a full-fledged degree. So we are saying that if you've had this experience with us, then you have some extra competence when it comes to leading change or interpersonal relations. We are hearing from a lot of employers that are interested in sometimes what are called the soft skills, so communication, email communication, interpersonal relations. We're hearing that there's a lot of interest in that too, and of course we have expertise in that area. So these would be, it depends on the micro-credential or the badge. In some cases it might be a 4-session of an hour and a half or 2 hours apiece, and then at the end of that, it's non-credit bearing in many cases, so you won't necessarily earn credit toward a degree, although there is that option as well in some cases. But it would be a badge that then the employee could put on his or her LinkedIn site, online portfolio, email signature, to indicate that, yes, I've achieved some level of mastery.
Yeah, that's incredible. Just not only for the employee or the student perspective, but also from an employer perspective, to have that resource in IUK to be able to say, we have this need. Maybe we're a small business and our employees have to wear a lot of hats. It'd be nice to have an institution that we could send an employee to get a very unique or niche focus education in. So I think that's helped solving some problems too for our small businesses that, again, employees have to wear many hats in some cases. So that's a phenomenal idea. I'm not sure if you guys are the brainchild for this idea, but certainly it's the first time I've heard of it from a four-year institution. So I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you. We have not invented it, but we want to be a major provider in our region.
Mm-hmm.
What we're hearing when we're talking to various employers is that there is a demand for this.
Right.
And sometimes they're looking around, looking for someone who can provide this type of thing. And so we're getting into the game, so to speak, to let people know that we have the expertise, we have the infrastructure.
Yep.
In fact, we have a website that, again, easy to remember, iuk.edu/badges.
Yep.
And someone can go to that one and they can actually put in, we're interested in learning more, and they could even put in some topics. Because we're building it now, it's a really good time to get in on the ground floor because
Sure.
we can almost customize whatever it is that the employer is looking for.
Sure. Well, Mark, that wraps up my questions for you, and I do appreciate your time this morning to help us do our State of the Community, focusing on education. I think IUK has always been a great provider in central Indiana, especially for Tipton County, and you're only continuing to improve that value proposition that's helping to solve issues that are affecting Tipton County. So I appreciate that effort, the concentration and focus for our business community. And so again, just thank you for your time this morning. Again, my name is Keegan Schmicker. I'm the Executive Director for the Tipton County Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate your attending.